Okay, class. So the section that we are going to refer in the SMM today is section B. I think for those who are new in the measurement, this is the new section that we have to refer. This is the new section that you have to refer because previously we only refer to section M few times, section F, section S, but in order to complete this lecture, you have to apply whatever that had been taught in measurement for the staircase, measurement for the roof maybe, measurement for other item, especially when we are measuring the access point. Okay, when we talk about measurement for the drainage, I would like all of you to take note that basically we have three categories of the drainage. You can also refer to the lecture notes under building services or maybe construction technology. So number one, we have above drainage system. Still remember what is the meaning of above drainage system? Class? Ian, have you remember what is above drainage system? I think if I'm not mistaken, had been covered in building services last time. You also have surface water drainage. All of this will be learned in the measurement as well. And number three, we have underground drainage. So every time you see the word U/G, you have to understand this is also the short form by the architect or engineer on underground drainage. Okay, when we talk about the drainage measurement, we are referring to the last two topic. This one. So, number one is surface water drainage. Number three is underground drainage. Above drainage system is referring to the soil and waste water system. Soil and waste water system. This one you will learn again with me next semester in measurement 3. Okay, so this is measurement for mechanical and electrical installation. This is under the other part of the measurement. So what we learn for this semester will be surface water drainage first, and number 2 is underground drainage. Okay, so please take note on this one. What is your first impression when we talk about drainage? What is your first impression, Ian? Is Ian there? Or maybe Cooking Hee, you would like to share anything about about the drainage? Kwanzi Hao? When we talk about the drainage, basically we are referring to the continuous construction, right? So when we have the continuous construction, you have to excavate this one. What is this? This is trench. Even if you look at the definition of the trench itself, it is something, the activity that required to take out the soil from the ground continuously. Okay, so the trench is something that is required to be done continuously. And then at a certain point, maybe you can see the boxes that is known as access point, ACC access point. So for this topic, we have to learn two main subtopic. So number one, we call this one as the drain itself, and number 2, we have access point. Okay, so the access point for the drainage is normally referring to brick sum. You may see this one basically. At the parking area or maybe at the corner of your perimeter drain. Okay, where is the word perimeter drain come from? Perimeter drain are referring to the drain at the perimeter of the building. This is your building. So perimeter means 1, 2, 3, 4. Perimeter of the building, around the perimeter of the building. So perimeter drain is under surface water drainage. Okay, surface water drainage. Right. Before we go further detail, as usual, you have to at least be able to prepare 2 main items. So at least before prepare taking off list, you must ensure that you get this one ready. 2 main category. Number 1 is the drainage itself, and number 2 is the access point. Okay, so this access point is under one group, drainage is under one group. You cannot mix the measurement for the drainage with the measurement for access point. And of course, after that, you must be able to prepare taking of quantities. And at the end, the main aim is to prepare the BQ. Right, let's go to the main title. This is what I did mention just now. We are not going to measure above drainage system. We are going to measure the second part. So if I mark again, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. For this lecture, we are focusing on number 2. Okay, surface water drainage and or perimeter drain. Why I put and or? Because sometimes it consists of 2, and sometimes for that particular project we only measure perimeter drain. When I say consists of 2, sometimes the surface water drainage is not at the perimeter of the building, but it is at the parking area, or maybe outside the garden area, outside the building, okay, at the garden area. So that is also surface water. If you cannot imagine how the surface water is, you just imagine that they are drained, maybe half round drain, and you can see the water flow inside that. So if you can see, that means that one is surface, something that can be seen if you are outside that particular drain. But for underground, you cannot see, because this is, let's say, the underground, this is you, the pipe is really below the ground. You cannot see. If you can see, we call that one as surface water drainage. Okay, Li Tianlu? Lao Xingdi? Okay. Is Lao Xingdi there? Lao Xingdi. Understand, yeah? Lao Ming Kiat? I hope for the first part, you are able to differentiate between the surface water drainage and underground drainage, because the rule of measurement is different a little bit, but the most important is you know that this one is under 2 different elements. Okay, now this is just to recap some of the information regarding to the drain that you have learned in your building services. The drain is the pipe laid below the ground that use gravity. Even though they're laid below the ground, but you have to understand the concept of whether you can see or whether you cannot see. Okay? And then normally the drain doesn't have any pump unless that one is required. They use the gravity to carry the wastewater away from the building. So what you can see here, this is one of the example. In the roof, we have roof drain. So this is rainwater down pipe. See, this is the rainwater down pipe. But this is not what we mean for today. Okay, but number 2, you can see here, this is to show the group of the drainage system as the introductory. Okay, then you can see here, sanitary sewer. This is the first category. The first category, from the building, we have above drainage system, and from the above drainage system, it will go to the underground drainage, that will go to the access point, that is known as access manhole. Okay, the one that we are going to learn today is not related to the system inside the building. Perimeter drain is the system of the drain outside the building. Maybe around this, look at my red color, around this. It is not come from anywhere. But traditionally, when I say traditionally, maybe now no such design, but or maybe the design is very minor. When I say traditionally means the water may come from the kitchen sink. From the kitchen sink directly to the perimeter drain. But nowadays, if you see the housing project, all water from either from the kitchen sink or from the toilet will go directly to the manhole, so that you did not see any water from that. Okay, if you see the perimeter drain nowadays in any housing or commercial project, the perimeter drain is only designed to receive the rainwater, or water from the pavement, or water from the side of the building, and it will go along the building, along the perimeter of the building to the nearest public sewer. This is public sewer. Okay, so this is just to recap on the material and the system. This is the example. You may have vitrified clay. If you see vitrified clay, sometimes the short form is VCP. Okay, VCP means vitrified clay pipe. I think this is something that students also need to take note, because a lot of time the engineer only put VCP and then they mention 100 mm diameter. So students did not Do you not know? Means what is VCP? So that one is vitrified clay pipe. It is the clay type pipe. Cast iron is under metal, and then we also have concrete, either lightweight or maybe a normal type of the concrete. Fibers is part type of the plastic material, or maybe the plastic either PVC or UPVC. Okay, this is the example. Then there are also a few terminology that I would like you to take note, especially if the surface water drainage is designed at the parking area where the drain is a bit deep compared to perimeter drain at the perimeter of your building. So surface water drainage at the parking area. Even if you look at the parking at Inti, the drain is very deep, something like this. But for the perimeter drain, maybe just 100 mm or 150 mm. This one can be maybe 1000. It's about 1 meter deep. Okay, so if you have this kind of the drawing, okay, if you have this kind of the deep, you have to consider the invert level, because if you are given the information on the invert level, you have to state that information in the description. What is invert level? The invert level is the lowest point where the water can receive the water, or where the lowest point where the drain is able to receive the water. So that means if let's say this is your pipe, we have to consider the thickness of the pipe. The invert level is level that is touching the surfaces of internal size of your pipe. Internal size of your pipe. This one. The lowest point where the water can sit inside. That is another definition. Okay, so basically, if you understand the concept of ground level and invert level, if I give you some example, this is very important concept. Yeah, let's say this is GL. GL is ground level. You are standing here. Okay, and then the pipe is very deep. Let's say something like this. And then the engineer give you the IL. IL is invert level, is this one. Let's say the ground level is given as 12 meter. Division 12 meter, and then IL is given as 10.5 meter. This information is from the datum. Okay, from the datum. How you want to get the depth of the trench excavation? Logically. How you want to get the depth of this excavation? The ground level is 12 meter from the datum. This one is 10.5. So how you want to get this depth? What you need to do? Can you do the thinking? Based on this understanding, invert level is the lowest point where the water can sit. Now we would like to find the depth of the trench excavation. Moses, Lu Yuanzin, can you try? Or any one of you, can you try how you want to get the depth of this excavation? Logically, look at my sketch. How? Lu Zesian, how? What deduct or what and what required to be deducted? What deduct what? Moses? Is Moses there? Tan Zijing, Moses Tan Zijing. Or Li Tianlong. I give you the ground level, I give you the invert level. How you want to get the different? Look at this, how you want to get the different. Is Lo Zesian there? Can you try? Farah? I think if you look at the sketch, you can get the answer straight away. What deduct what? Ground level deduct invert level, or invert level deduct ground level? Stacy Chia? Yes, low main cat 1.5 meter, but what deduct what? Farah, Nurul Farah Ain. What mentioned by low main cat is correct, 1.5 meter. So how you get the low main cat? Can you share with your friend? Ground level, deduct invert level. Okay, good. That is the correct answer. Thank you for your try. So basically, in order for you to get the depth, you have to take ground level, deduct invert level. So you get the depth. Yes, Moses, correct. Okay, thank you very much. Just want to make sure that you are there, because just now I think very quiet. Okay, so this is what you have to write down again in the description later. So that is how you want to write a description for that is what you need to consider in order to write the description later on the invert level and the ground level. This invert level and ground level is required to be written in the category. This one we will go through later. Okay, and then the term surface water drainage, this one also I did mention just now. What is surface water drainage? The water that flow from the roof and from the pavement area. So this is normally can be seen. Okay, the water is considered clean and does not have to be treated to the sewage plant. So normally when we say clean, this one can be used again, and then you can see some of the water go directly to the public sewer. Public sewer, maybe in Negeri Sembilan, I'm not sure what is the name. In Selangor, we have Shabas. This is the public sewer. Every single state they have their own public sewer. So this public sewer must be connected to the drainage. Okay, so when we talk about surface, this is what I did mention: surface water drainage at the parking area, or maybe at the pavement area, or at the garden area. And then the other one is perimeter drain. This is one of the example of the drainage system that you may see in the housing project or commercial project. Okay, we also have the other term that I would like you to be familiar with. We have access point. So access point is maybe you have manhole, maybe you have a septic tank, maybe you have sump. Okay, so sump is relevant to the underground, sump is relevant to the drainage system. Manhole normally related to the underground drainage. Septic tank is normally for the cleaning purposes. Also, same function with the manhole system. Okay, the most important is you have to understand all these drainage system must have their access point, normally for the inspection and for the cleaning. And if you look at in detail, where is the access point? Access point normally at the corner, or maybe when you have very long run. Long run means very long or continuous drainage. You need to have one at least for cleaning purposes or to avoid any clogging. Okay, and then this is also another terminology. We have to understand the term public sewer. This is the large pipe laid below the roads. This is actually connected with the local authority. So whatever pipe that you have from your building, at the end of the day must be connected to the public sewer. Okay, public sewer or public highway. That means connected to the local authority. Dilesh, we will go through this item after this. For the laying pipe, yes, we have to first identify the item to be measured. Definitely you have to do excavation. But the excavation for the drainage, there will be no backfill. That will be counted together with the description, including backfill. This is something different as compared to your measurement one. Okay, so this is the recap on the terminology. Again, you have to state this one in the description when you measure for the pipe work. Recap on the type of the jointing, either rigid jointing or either flexible jointing. So example of the rigid jointing is the connection with the cement and sand. Rigid means permanent, okay, but flexible means you can adjust. You can move this one. See, you can move this one by using rubber ring, okay, plastic pieces with the groove or rubber ring, or maybe fitted with the rubber ring only. If you use the sleeve, sleeve means cover this one. Okay, so this jointing, always my student forget to write down in the description, because sometimes engineer only give you the type of the pipe work. They only mention, okay, this type is concrete, but the engineer did not put any specification. So as the QS, you need to know at least one type of the jointing required for that particular material. For example, if you use concrete pipe, you need to know concrete must be jointed with cement and sand mortar. Clay also must be jointed with cement and sand mortar. But when you have steel, may have UPVC, you cannot use cement and sand jointing. You have to use sleeve or rubber ring. This is very fundamental knowledge that need to be catered by the student and by the QS actually. Flexible pipe with flexible joint, or maybe you can use welding using solvent. So these are the recap terminology on the drainage jointing that must be stated at the heading of your description. Okay, now delage, we can start refer to the drawing, and we also can start refer to the item to be measured. Okay, so SMM2 under section V, page 131. Can everyone refer to page 131? Page 131, I would like you to go through every single page. Okay, without looking at this possible item to be measured, what you need to do is you can measure the item according to the flow in the SMM first. Okay, when I say flow means, if you look at V.1, what is V.1? What is V.1? Delage. Low Mincat, what is V.1? Okay, so number one, I would like you to write down the title here, V.1, low Mincat. Number two, what are the second item that you have to measure? V.2, Farah. What is V.3? V.2 excavation. V.3? Wong Yu Yang? V.3, Wong Yu Yang? Wong Yu Yang, V.3. What is V.3? Wong Yu Yang. Disposal of water. So this one also you have seen before in the excavation work. V.4, Yi Kian Ru. What is V.4 in your SMM? That's benching and covering. Can you say that, Yi Kian Ru? Yi Kian Ru? Is Yi Kian Ru there? V.5? Wong Mun Chung? What is V.5? Wong Mun Chung. Please respond, class. If you're not responsive, I will call you again. Yes, thank you, Yi Kian Ru, beds, benching, and covering. But for V.4, please choose one only. Choose one, depending on the design. Okay, V.5, pipe work, and V.7, connection to the main. And the last one is testing. Okay, what I would like you to take note is, when you prepare the measurement for taking off list, please follow this one exactly. Okay, when I say exactly, you start with V.2, after that V.3, after that V.5, V.4, okay, except, all except, maybe I can put here, except V.1 and V.6. The rest you can just follow exactly. So if I prepare taking off list, if you look at this taking off list, number one, you have the drainage excavation under V.2. This is number one we have done. And then after that, disposal of water, V.3. After that, V.4, V.5. And then under V.5, we have for a certain type of the pipe work, you have extra over, especially if you have plastic pipe work. UPVC, normally you have fitting. But for the concrete and VCP pipe, precast concrete or any concrete work, we did not have any fitting. Fitting means band or maybe T, reducer, or something like that. Okay, and the V.6 is one. Please taken out because this one is under second category of the measurement. We finish all the drainage, then only we go to the sum. Okay, but you have to continue with the connection to the main. Okay, whatever you see on your right hand side, this one, right hand side, this one are, sorry, this one. These one are all information that required to be measured, other than section B. Other than section B means you have to refer to the appropriate heading in the SMM. When I say appropriate heading means, if you see concrete, you have to measure concrete. If you see there are any brick wall, then you have to measure brick wall. If you see any lintel, you have to measure lintel under section F. Okay, so these are additional item that you need to measure, but under appropriate heading in the SMM. So basically, if we go through one by one, item number 1 under section V.2, you can refer to your studio drawing number 2. We have to measure excavation to the trench, but according to the width of the foundation. So can everyone refer to section V.2.4? There are two categories. Excavation, there are two categories according to the width. So now, first category, you have to measure in meter. Second category, you have to measure in meter cube. Okay, I would like Teo Binzer to scale the length for this one, the length of your drawing number 20. And Farah also, can you let me know the width of this concrete base? This is the perimeter drain details. You can refer to drawing number 22 on the top. So Teo Binzer and Farah, can you scale for me the width of this one? Why I ask you to scale? Because in order for you to identify the unit of the measurement, you have to check what is the width of your foundation. Then only you know what need to be the unit of the measurement. Teo Binzer, can you scale for me? Farah as well? Okay, while waiting for your friend to scale, look at the example of the description. Teo Binzer, what is the length? Can you write down and in the drawing? Farah, I am waiting for you to scale. Lomiket, how much you get for the width of the foundation? .5 meter. Farah, it is not logic to have 3.5 meter. Look at the scale, 1 to 100 or 1 to 100 or 1 to 10. Teo Binzer, how much you get? Even if you did not sketch, if you did not scale, actually the information are there already. Lomiket, Teo Binzer, can you scale? How much you get? Just to double check the information given. 2.73? No. Oh my dear, can you look at the detail properly? What is the scale? Is it logic to have very wide drain? If you go outside your house now, can you just look at your drain outside your house? Is it something like 3 meter? Farah, 3.5 meter is about 1 story high. The width, look at my arrow. Lihat Chunman, thank you. That is the correct one. Look at the scale properly, class. The scale is 1 to 1 to. What is the scale used for that particular drawing? 1 to 10. So 1 to 10 is about 10 times lower than the normal scale or normal ruler. Okay, so 1 to 10 is 350. I just want to get all of you to be ready with the scale ruler as well, because I would like you to check. Look at this information. The width already been given as 350, but just for you to double check your usage of the scale ruler. 1 to 10 is very accurate. If you get 350, that one is correct. If you get maybe 330, also I accept. But if you get 3,500 or 3,000, there is something wrong with the reading of your scale ruler. Okay, so now I go to the principle of the measurement. Yeah, if you have the width of the foundation that is not exceeding 300 mm, okay, look at this, trenches not exceeding 300 mm, you have to write you have to measure in meter, but you have to write also the average depth to the nearest of 0.25. Average depth to the nearest of 0.25. Okay, now from this drawing, you can start, you can also measure the depth in order to get the dimension. Okay, but the indicator is the width. If this width is less than 300 mm, the unit is meter. But if you scale, this one is 300 and above, sorry, over 300 mm, then you have to measure in meter cube. So once you need to measure in meter cube, what does it mean? You have to get the length on plan, you have to get the width, and you have to get the depth ready. Okay, so basically in this drawing, it is under category A or category 1 or category 2, Derek? Category 1 or category 2? Category 2, right? Category 1 or category 2? Category 2. So you have to get length on plan. Okay, and then you have to scale the depth. You have to get the width. The width already been given as 350. So you have to follow 350. But the length on plan, you have to refer to drawing number 20. Okay, look at this example of the description. Excavate trenches for surface water drain square drain. This is actually the example given. Not exceeding 300 mm in width. So when you say not exceeding means first category. If the first category, you have to write down the average depth. But the second category, you don't have to refer to the average depth, but you have to write down according to clause in D.10 only. Okay, and then look at the last sentence, including compaction, surplus soil removed from site. What does it mean? This one means disposal and filling. Earthwork support and grading and ramming to the bottom of the excavation. Okay, before I go this one in detail, I would like everyone to open to section D. Can you open your section D? This is actually to answer the question by Dilesh just now, because he's asking whether we have to measure disposal and filling. So go back to the excavation. You can refer to section D. Can you refer to section D.12.9? So this is the most important principle. I purposely did not write here because I would like you to refer. Okay, refer to D.12.9. Excavating trenches to receive service pipe, cable, and the light. So every time you see the word service pipe, means that one is services, including the drainage. You have to measure in meter, stating the starting level. That means you have to refer to section D.9 as well to measure the drainage. But the rule of measurement, either meter cube or meter, you have to refer to section V. Okay, so this clause D.12.9 is the main reference of the clause that you have to refer to measure the drainage. Look at the last sentence. Okay, look at the last sentence. The last sentence, the second last and the last sentence. Detail of the size and pipe must be given. Okay, if you look at the fourth layer, filling in, compaction and disposal shall be given in the description. That is actually to explain the last sentence. Whether you have to measure disposal, whether you have to measure compaction separately or not, it depends on your information given. So if not, you have to write down everything in the description. Okay, class? Any question? So now if I ask you again, do you need to measure disposal and filling? The answer is no. Please do not measure the disposal and filling. Okay? You have to write down everything in the description. Okay, next one. Look at the information given here. The length of plan, you can refer to the length of plan in the layout plan. Okay, so everyone, can you refer to drawing number 20? Okay, in drawing number 20, you have to look at the layout plan by referring to the perimeter drain. Okay, how you want to know the information about the perimeter drain? You can see the information on your right hand side. If you go at the bottom, this is the information given. 2 to 5 mm, half round RC. RC means reinforced concrete, drain, laid at 4. So that means this is the laid on the gravity. What you have to do, if if you need to write down the description, you can follow this information and also the details later. Okay. Okay, now from this layout plan, you can actually identify the perimeter drain. You can see the double line outside the building. So this is actually your perimeter drain. Where is my pen? This one. Look at this. This is your perimeter drain. Can you see that? That one is around the perimeter of your building. So during the studio next week, I will ask you to do this one again. Identification of the layout plan. Okay, the one with the arrow. Yes, correct. The one with the arrow. It is actually around the perimeter of the building. So in terms of the width, you can refer to the details, but length on plan, it is something like this that you have to follow. The detail length, we will go through later in the studio. But at least I would like to know, if you need to measure the answer in meter, you have to get this layout plan. If you need to measure the length, the width, and the depth, means the length on plan, the width is from the detail, the width from the detail, and the depth is where you have to scale until this level. Okay, so that is how you get the first answer to be ready. The overview on how you want to get the answer in meter cube. Okay, and then from this section AA, this is drawing number 21 if I'm not mistaken, you also can see where is your drain. This is your drainage. The details in the section, in the perimeter drain details, but from the section view, you can see it is at the side of your building. Okay, so please go through all this information as well in order to double check where is your drainage system. That is the first item. This is another example of the description, but this description is where you are given with the size of the pipe according to the according to the nominal size. Nominal size means internal diameter. If you look at this is outer diameter, internal is nominal size. So please take note, if you are given the size in the diameter, please follow the nominal size. Okay, and this one will be referred to the underground drainage or surface water drainage that is very deep, where you have to write down the depth in the average depth, and then you have to prepare the schedule. So for the schedule preparation, we will go through this one in detail for the next topic under underground drainage. So this is only one example. Next one, excuse me. Okay, next one, we have beds, benching, and covering. Okay, for the beds are referring to the concrete bed. The benching are referring to, okay, I would like you to take note on this one. If you look at your drawing number, your perimeter drain details, this is your drain, this is the bed. Okay, you have to differentiate between beds, benching, and covering. Benching is something like this. This is available in drawing number 23. This part, this is benching. So benching normally available in the manhole. This is benching. And then number 3, covering. So covering is, okay, for example, let's say this is your drainage. This is your maybe underground drainage system. So normally we can see the covering is to cover the area of your, or the side of your underground drainage. Let's say this is underground drainage, and this one is, for example, I give you gravel. This one, gravel. So the gravel is the covering. Gravel or maybe hardcore, or maybe the stone. That is the covering. So for this item, either one. In your case, you only can see the beds. So how you want to measure the benching? You can measure the benching by referring to the length on plan. So the answer is actually similar to length on plan. Length on plan when you measure the trench excavation. So make sure you get the length on plan correct before you go for the next item, because you can take the length from the first item. Okay, this is the length on plan. How you want to write the description? You have to write down what is the size, what is the width and the thickness. This is the width and the thickness of the bed. What is the pipe to receive, or the nominal size of the pipe? What are the material? And you don't have to measure the formwork. Every time you see the word shall be deemed, do not measure, do not state as well. Do not state, do not measure. Shall be deemed to be included means it is required to be paid by the contractor, but not to be stated. Okay. Now, next one, we have the disposal of water. How many items to be measured for disposal of water? Basically, we have 2 items. If you refer to your SMM, we have D.15, and then we have another one, D.16. But for this particular underground drainage, for underground drainage, you have to measure both. Okay, but for the surface water drainage, you don't have to measure disposal of underground water, because normally we did not dig out the water until that particular depth. So allow for keeping the surface of the site free from surface water only. Groundwater, if you have very deep trench, then you have to measure 2 items. If not, please measure 1 item only for perimeter drain. Okay, item number 4, this is under V.5. This is under V.5.1. V.5.1, you have to measure surface water drainage, and then the detail are available in V.5.6. V.5.6. So V.5.6 is V.5.6 is the detail for surface water channel. Surface water channel. This one also measure in meter. Again, you can take the length. You can take the length equal to the length of your trench excavation, or equal to the length of your beds just now. Okay, beds. What you have to write the size, you have to write the kind and quality, and don't forget the jointing method. If you look at in your SMM, the second last item, the second last sentence, including the size and method of jointing. Okay, so you have to measure that method of jointing. And then a part of that, sometimes you need to measure the extra oval for the pipe fitting. Okay, if you need to measure extra oval for the pipe fitting, this is normally for your PVC pipe. VCP pipe, for concrete pipe, normally we did not have to measure the pipe fitting, because normally it is not having the pipe fitting. But if you have this cascade drain, this is the example of cascade drain, this one, you have to measure in number. This is available normally when you have the staggered drainage. You can see the example of the cascade drain next to the block C in T, or next to the RC block. It is arranged in the step. It really looks like step, but that is actually cascade drain. That one has to be measured in number. You have to state the number of the step and the total drop. How many numbers of the step available to install cascade drain. So this is actually a little bit different as compared to surface water channel, because normal surface water channel has to be measured in meter, and the pipe fitting has to be measured in number, enumerated as extra oval. Okay, I actually put the example of the description here in one page, so you can see what you need to write down. Normally we have to write the kind and quality, and we have to write down the size. If we have square, we normally have to write 2 sizes, what times what. But if we have circular, we have to write down the diameter. But remember, if you are being given with the outer diameter and internal diameter, please write down internal diameter, because internal diameter are referring to nominal diameter. Okay, as I mentioned that you have to write down nominal size. So please write down the nominal size. And remember to also write down the jointing. This is the example of the jointing where they use watertight flexible movement joint. Okay, and then sometimes You are also being given with the detail of the pipe, where this is the example of the VCP pipe with the band of 45 and with the band of 35. If this one is not being given, we assume that at the corner it is 90-degree bend. Okay, so this is the example of the photo, just to show you the example of the big size of your surface water drainage, or sometimes we call this one as the round culvert. And then you have also hexagon. This is the example of perimeter drainage that using precast concrete box, but this one is in bigger in size. You also can see this one next to the road or next to the parking area, maybe 1 meter times 1 meter, 600 times 600. And then this is to show you the jointing for the box culvert or for the big size of your perimeter drain or surface water drainage. Okay, look at this. They use cement and sand jointing. This is also another example, but this is the example for the precast concrete pipe that is actually come one by one. So you have to measure inlet and outlet structure for this part in number. But this one, you will learn more in the measurement for the mycesm in measurement 3. This is normally not available at the building area. Okay, so this part I will do later. Some manhole and such like. I would like to go to the building to the end. Sorry, I would like to go to the connection to the main first. Okay, can everyone refer to drawing? Can everyone refer to section V under V.7? Okay, under V.7, there are two categories. Number one, connection to the main V.7.1, and another one, connection to the existing work. Okay, connection to the existing work only available where you have the renovation works, but to the normal new construction, you only have to measure connection to the local authority, and this is actually connection to the public sewer that I did mention. Last part of perimeter drain, it must be connected with the public sewer, where this is actually a certain amount of money that you have to pay to the public sewer or to the local authority to get the connection. Okay, so that the water from your building or from that particular project will be conveyed to the nearest public sewer. That is the purpose of having this item. Basically, if you need to measure as provisional sum, you only have to write down the description. No measurement need to be carried out. Only write down the item in the description and then just write down the unit as provisional sum. Okay, the last part for the drainage is testing. Okay, so testing has to be measured as item. You have to write down the method of the testing. If this one is not being given, you can refer to the example of the testing for the drainage, maybe by using bore test, hydraulic testing, and so on. Any question, class, for the testing? For the item to be measured for the perimeter drain. Okay, so for all the item that you have to measure according to section V, I group all the description under this particular slide. You can also refer to the previous slide for the example of the description. Okay, I also would like you to refer to the detail before we go to the sum. Okay, let's go back to this page. Okay, I would like to discuss about this before we go to sum. Okay, if you look at this item, if you look at this detail, okay, what is item number 1 that need to be measured? Item number 1 that you have to measure is trench excavation. Item number 2, just follow the flow in the SMM, yeah? Trench excavation under V.2. Item number 2, disposal of surface water. Item number 3, we have to measure for the beds, because here you only can see the beds. There's no benching. Don't forget, some of you may confuse me. So do we need to measure the formwork? The answer is no, because the description, the information given in the SMM is formwork shall be deemed to be included. So just measure the bed in meter. Okay, item number 4, according to your SMM, you have to measure surface water channel. What is the type of the surface water channel here? What is the type? This is half round PC. So PC means precast concrete. So if you have precast concrete, there is no pipe fitting need to be carried out. So item number 5 in your SMM is connection to the main. Item number 6 is testing. These are all items that you have to measure under section V. Okay, now before I go to the sum, I would like you to take note. Let's go through in detail this part. Okay, what else that is not available in section V, but they are available in this drawing. So that one you have to look at in detail. Okay, now if you look at this, they are brick wall. So we can say this is the additional item that you have to measure. I'll put number 1 in blue color to let you know that they are item that is available in the drawing, but it is not available in section V. So what you need to do, refer to the appropriate heading. Brick wall in section G. So under section G, you have to measure brick wall in meter square. Okay, what is this one? This is plastering, right? So you have to measure plastering. Okay, that is item number 2, additional item. And then you also can see here, what is this? This is lintel. This is lintel. This lintel is used to measure. This lintel is used to receive the placement of the grating. This is your grating. Look at this. This is your grating. Okay, so you have to measure lintel. Since there is no information about the lintel, whether this one is precast or in situ, you have to measure in situ. Precast only can be measured as precast if there are information about precast. If not, you have to measure lintel in situ, concrete work. So how many items we have? 1 is brick wall, number 2 we have plastering, number 3 we have lintel, number 4 we have the formwork for the lintel, and then what else you can see from this particular item? You can see GI grating. GI means galvanized iron, so that is also additional item. Grating is measured under section P. This one also available in my example below that. The loose pebble. Anyone know what is loose pebble? Domincat, you know what is loose pebble? Sean? Loose pebble, anyone know? The word pebble is the small stone, very small, nice stone that is arranged on the top to cover the jointing. Okay, so loose pebble is measured as floor finishes because this is type of the floor finishes. Measured in meter square under section S. Geotextile, you can see this one available in the section D. Section D, the last page. Measured in meter square. And then I think that will be the last one. Okay, so the keyword here is before you measure and prepare taking off list, please follow what you can see in the section V. And then whatever item that is not available in section V, you have to refer to the appropriate heading in your SMM to measure the item. Okay, so basically it's not only 6 items to be measured, but you have to consider brick wall, you have to consider plastering in meter square, you have to consider lintel in meter cube, formwork for the lintel in meter square, GI in meter square, loose pebble in meter square, section S, and geotextile in section D in your SMM. Okay, last page of section D in also meter square. So how you want to measure, you can refer to the layout plan. The most important is to get the length on plan correct. If you want to get the length on plan correct, okay, for example, you want to measure the geotextile, you have to get the length on plan times with the width of the geotextile. Where is geotextile? From here to this one. Okay, how you want to measure the loose pebble? You can take quantity from the geotextile because these levels are similar. Okay, next one, let's say you want to measure the GI, you have to get the length on plan, then scale from this point to this point, then you get the answer in meter square. Again, if you need to measure the other item, Now let's say you are measuring, you want to measure the lintel, this one, the lintel, you have to measure by referring to length of plan and times with the width of this one. Okay, right. And then for the plastering, this is actually plastering. If you zoom properly, this one we have two plastering. One on the surfaces of the lintel, another one on the surfaces of your brick wall. So these two has to be measured separately. Okay? Okay, class? Any question on the drainage? Any question on the drainage? So that will be the end part of the drainage, part 1. Okay. Any question, Tan Jia Yi, Wan Muncul, Sharon? Okay, if no question, you have to be prepared before next studio. Maybe you can prepare example of the taking off list first, referring to this recorded lecture. Okay, we go to the last part. The last part of the drainage is the sum. Okay, for the sum, manhole and sunlight. Okay, for the sum, manhole and sunlight, we have to refer to section V.6. Okay, under section V.6, can you refer to V.6.1? Understanding the main principle of the sum is very important. Okay, for the testing, for the sum. Okay, basically for the sum, this red color, this is actually the sum. Okay, you can see at the very long run, in between we have the sum. Maybe here you can see the pipe, right? So here is another, you have another underground drainage that is also interconnected with the sum. There are few examples that are available. Here we have brick sum, we have in situ concrete sum, we also have precast concrete. But what you can see here is the brick sum. Okay, so basically the sum you have to refer to section V, but principally we have to refer to the appropriate heading. So appropriate heading means you have to refer to V.6. If you look at V.6, the sum, manhole, and the light shall be, the principle is grouped together under appropriate heading. Okay, and then we have to state the number. So basically when we say state the number, you can see this example. This is the first example that I would like to show with you. Okay, you have to write down the following in 7 numbers of the sum, or in your case you have to look at how many numbers of the sum available in your drawing. Okay, this is example, excavate pit. Then you have to refer to the same principle to measure for the item that you have learned in measurement 1 and measurement 2. This is only example. Now, if I go to this one in detail, you can see that to start with the discussion on the item that you have to measure, I will normally start from the bottom part. Okay, so the first item that you have to measure basically is to excavate the pit, because the sum is in cuboid. It's either cuboid or circular, or maybe something like this. Okay, so the first item that you have to measure basically excavate pit. Okay, after you excavate pit, you have to do disposal of surface water. Number 3, you have to do disposal of underground water. Same principle as your measurement for the for section. Measurement for your measurement 1. Okay, because SMM did not mention that you have to refer to any detail except whatever you can see in V.5. So you definitely have to go to the detail from the section drawing and refer to the appropriate heading. For example, excavate pit, you have to refer to section D.10, D.12, 5, and then disposal of surface water is D.15, disposal of underground water is D.16, and then number 4, you may need to have disposal of work, disposal of excavated material. Okay, this one D.15 or D.16. This one we will go through in detail later in your studio, but this is just to give you the overview. Okay, number 5, after you dispose, you have to check whether are backfill or no having backfill. But in this case, the backfilling you have for the hardcore. You can see the hardcore. Hardcore is part of the filling item, and then from this hardcore, let's say from the cross section, you can see there are information about the link concrete. So you have to measure number 6, link concrete, or SEM blinding, measure in meter square. Okay, and then for the concrete base, measure in meter cube under F.3.8, measure in meter cube. Once you have in situ concrete bed, you need to have formwork. So you have to measure the item for formwork to the sides of the foundation. And then you also need to check what is available on the top. You can see the brick wall. So the brick wall has to be measured in meter square under G.1.1a foundation. Next one, what is beside the brick wall? You can see plastering. So plastering is measured under section S, under S.2 and S.10. You also can see the plastering on the surfaces of the concrete. So these two has to be measured separately. And then after that, on the top of this one, you have the pipe itself, 200 mm UPVC pipe. Okay, this is different. For the sum, the pipe is not measured in meter, but this one, you have to, I choose red color. This one, you have to measure according to V.6.5. Okay, so this one measure in number. Okay, V.6.5, you can see the word channel, concrete benching, step iron, and cover. Cover here is referring to the grading cover, shall be each enumerated. So if you look at V.6.5, you have to measure this item in number. Okay, so aggregate we have stated just now under backfilling. And then you can see they are lintel. So lintel is measured in meter cube under F.3, and then you also have to measure the formwork to sides of the lintel. And then you can see here they are grating. So grating is also same clause as V.6.5, measure in number. And then on the top of that you have geotextile, same as what we discussed before in section D. The last page of section D, measure in meter square, is under D.34, measure in meter square. Loose pebble under S.2 and S.10, measure in square meter. Okay, so basically the key point is you have to know how to construct one box below the ground. So basically, if you want to do the something like box below the ground, we have to refer to section D. This is concept of excavation. You have disposal, backfilling, and then after that, refer to the cross section from the lower part to the top until all items have been measured. So you did not miss any item. Okay, I show you a few examples here. In case you forget to write down how to write down the description for the pit excavation, you can refer to D.12.6, measure in meter cube by stating the length on plan, whether it is less than 1.5 meter or more than that, stating the starting level and the depth of excavation. Okay, so the depth excavation, maximum depth, you can refer to D.10 and starting level under D.11. This is also another example. Okay, as what I did mention to you. Okay, and then in case you are required to measure the drainage together with the ground floor slab for the apron, because all I think most of the time the apron is measured together with the perimeter drain. So if you are given the detail, you have to measure the apron as well. Remember what is apron? if you refer back to the drawing, the apron is something like this. Let's say this is your building. This is your building. Previously, you can see this is the drain. Okay, so this is your apron. The apron is ground floor slab outside the building. Ground floor slab outside the building is this normally at the overhang area of your roof. This is overhang, right? So this part, it is just a little bit slopey because the water that flow will go directly to the pavement area and will go to the uh, drainage. So basically, if you have to measure the apron together, we have to measure according to the cross section from the sub base, from the blinding. If you have the insulation, then you have to measure in meter square. Concrete, you have to measure in meter cube. And the topping or the script, this one not required to be measured because this one is under external floor finishes. If you need to measure, you only have to measure from the hardcore and the concrete work. And if you have any DPM or insulation, depending on the detail, then you have to measure. This is only to show you the recap component that you have to measure, if any. Okay, so I think that's all for today. Okay, before we end the session, let me go through. You can go through all the example of the description here from the measurement one as well. How the BRC in the apron looks like if you need to measure, and how the geotextile looks like. Okay, if you need to measure geotextile, you have to measure a meter square under appropriate heading. This is under D.34. And then this is also just to show you the difference if you have geotextile and if you don't have geotextile. So before we end the session today, I would like you to take note that there are two groups of the measurement that need to be carried out today. Number one is the drainage. Number two is the sum. Okay, for the drainage, you have to follow all items under section B, except section B, except V.1 and V.6. Okay, that means we have to start from the trench excavation, and then you have disposal of water, and then you may have the bags or benching or covering, but normally for the perimeter drain, we have bags only. After that, you have to check what is the surface water channel. The word channel are referring to half round channel, or this one also referring to the pipe work. They need to be measured in meter. After that, you have to measure connection to the main in provisional sum. So no measurement need to be carried out, just write down the description. Last part under section B is testing. So please also remember that you need to measure the other item that are available in the drawing, but it's not available in section B. So this one we have to refer to appropriate heading. SMM use the word appropriate heading. So appropriate heading means according to the relevant section in your SMM. Okay, for example, if you have the brick wall, please measure the brick wall, and then you can also see that they are plastering. This is actually considered as normal item. When you have the brick wall at the side, you have the plastering, two sides of the brick wall, and then if you have the plastering, two sides of the bags, also you have to measure. If you have the lintel, you also have to measure. This one is under section F. And then when you have the in situ concrete, you have to measure the formwork to sides of lintel as well. And you have, if you see any other information, that means you have to measure. For example, the grating is measured in meter square. And then what else we have? The loose pebble. Sometimes the details, no details given for the loose pebble grading, so you don't have to measure that. But if you have to measure loose pebble in meter square. This one is under section S. What else? If you have the geotextile, you also need to measure in meter square under 3.34. Okay, and for the sum, same, you have to refer to the appropriate heading, same concept. We have to start with the with the pit excavation. You can refer to all items in section D. Okay, section D means every time we mention about section D, it's about excavation, disposal, plus filling. Okay, these three are basic construction for the pit. And then after that, you have to refer to the details. Exactly, you can see same concept as this one. Plastering, if you have loose pebble, if you have grating, but this one is a bit different. If you have the beds must be according to section F, because this bed is not under the drainage. This bed is for some F.3. And if you have the forward to sides of the bed, you also have to refer to section F. Okay, according to the appropriate heading. I think that's all for today. So please refer to this list